what matters most. So those links are here and will be here as well after our session. All right, my friends, let's begin. We're going to start on the floor here on quadruped. Today's the 23rd of Nisan, the month of Nisan, and we are beginning the second week of the Omer. Today we're going to look at two qualities, chesed and gvura, and more on that in a moment. But let's just start by sitting in some way for just a moment, actually, before we go on to quadruped. Allowing your breath to come and go. If it's comfortable, close your eyes. Feel the solidity of this body. Maybe you feel that in a sense of strength or power. Maybe a certain heaviness, a weight, a presence of the body. See if you can sense the contours of your own shape. The solidity of this body and the place where your skin meets the air. And just starting to slow down the breath perhaps a little bit by elongating the exhales. And in the exhales, softening and just trying to let go a little bit of something, anything that you just don't need for this next bit of time. Scan your body and see if there's anywhere you can soften. Perhaps in the jaw, the throat, the brow, the chest, the abdomen, or maybe somewhere else. And let's just take a couple of shoulder rolls, inhaling as you raise the shoulders toward the ears, and exhaling as you draw the shoulders back, squeeze the shoulder blades toward each other and let them slide down the back. Just taking this slowly a couple of times, inhaling up, exhaling back and down. Great, and then the next time the shoulder blades slide down, see if you can register a little more distance from the shoulders to the ears. Just feel that openness, that length of the neck, some width across the collarbones. And we can take that with us as we come into quadruped. On the hands beneath the shoulders and the knees right beneath the hips. And we're going to start by inhaling and taking the right leg back in space. Leg is parallel, foot is flexed, the toes are pointing down. Draw the navel in slightly, even across the back of the sacrum. And then if you'd like, extend the left arm forward, palm facing in. We call this bird dog. Building up a little heat, a little balance, a little core support. And then release back down. And take care of yourself. Any limitations, just watch over them. Inhale the left leg back. Same thing, leg is parallel, rolling the thigh in slightly, perhaps just to counter any impulse to turn out. Foot is flexed. Sole of the foot is bright. All 5 toes pointing down. And then if you'd like, taking the right arm forward, palm facing in, extend. See that the head and neck are in line with the rest of the spine. And then release and switch sides. And go back and forth a few times. You can hold for just one inhale and then release on the exhale, or you can hold several breaths and build a little more heat and then come down. You decide how you'd like to take this. You can take just the legs, or you can take leg and arm together. And see if you can stay as stable and solid through the core as possible. So as little movement as possible. The trunk stays really still as arm and leg move. Maybe you feel a little heat begin to build, especially in the glute muscles, outer hips, hamstrings. Really draw the navel to the spine to support the back, to stay strong. And then release. Sit it back for a moment. Clasp hands and just make a little rotation to open up the wrists. One direction, and then the other direction. Good. And then we'll come on back and take circles with the right knee. Either direction, doesn't matter where you start. Few circles, again, staying very stable through the torso. So we're not moving. Again, building a little bit of heat in the glute, in the outer hip, and then go the other direction. Finding some stability here. Good. And then put it down and then go to the other side. Circles with the left knee. Notice if you're more stable on one side, if you feel stronger on one side. Starting to open up the synovial fluids in that ball and socket joint. And then take circles in the other direction. Again, as stable as possible with the torso. So we're not shifting side to side so much. And then pause. And we're going to take what we call fire hydrants, just opening the right knee out to the side, 90 degrees at the knee, and then closing in. Again, building some heat, building some strength. And then the other side, left side, opening out to the side and closing. So opening, lifting the knee to hip height and coming back. Continuing to stay connected through the core. Good, and then stretching out in any way you like. Maybe it's child pose. Maybe you want to do a figure 4 stretch. I'm going to just share a few words of teaching and then we'll continue standing. So just notice and register any sensation, any building of heat that you feel through the thighs, the outer hip, the buttocks. As I said, today's the 23rd of Nisan and it's the first day of the second week of the Omer. If you have been counting, so it's the 8th day of the Omer. We're in the week of Gvura. So the Omer, of course, is our 7-week journey between coming out of Mitzrayim, coming out of Egypt, between Pesach and receiving revelation at Mount Sinai, Shavuot. So we explore this journey as a continual practice of leaving enslavement, leaving constriction, leaving attitudes, behaviors, patterns in the body, in the mind that keep us stuck, that keep us fearful, that keep us in constrictive states. So each week we're going to go through 7 of the lower sfirot of the Kabbalistic tree, and each week look primarily at one sacred quality, one divine emanation. So last week was Chesed. This past week was Chesed, and today is Chesed within Gvura. Chesed, compassion, loving kindness, generosity, all words associated with chesed. And it's really the root of our practice. It's wonderful that it's the first midah, the first sphira that we work with, because we can always hold compassion no matter what we're doing and bring that to our practice. If you're following in the Omer course, the writing last week was from Kohenet Kishira Halef Fife, and she spoke of chesed as loving connection. And Kishira wrote that we're looking at loving connection, love as a connective and generative force. This force can help us offer loving connection to ourselves, inviting compassion and acceptance where we might otherwise default to harshness and self-criticism. When we can cultivate this practice, whether through self-affirmation, gentleness, or unconditional care for ourselves, we ease the flow of chesed. As we do this, our internal landscape reflects externally. In this way, chesed can manifest as connective tissue between us and others through kindness, understanding, and authentic acceptance. We can practice patient presence, non-judgmental witnessing, and seeking the good for others and within them. And that we balance with gvura, known as strength, power. Also, din is a word used for gvura, judgment, discernment, boundaries, discipline. So gvura is discernment, which helps us channel kindness in a skillful direction, you might say. So Rabbi Mark Margolius wrote this week on gvura, and I'll share with you a little bit of that. Gvura gives shape and context to chesed. If chesed represents the infinite dimension transcending time and space, gvura is the power by which we establish boundaries and define parts in time and space. If chesed represents absolute acceptance and non-judgment, gvura, also known as din, as justice, represents pure judgment, defining right and wrong, wholesome and unwholesomeness, sacred and profane. Chesed is Shabbat, gvura is Havdalah, an engagement in the 6 days of divine human creative partnership. Chesed represents undifferentiated oneness. Gvura represents the sacred diversity flowing out of that unity. Another way we could say this is that chesed and gvura balance each other. If we have too much chesed, we might just mistake being nice or being pleasant for kindness. Unbounded love could be overwhelming. Too much gvura on the other side, and we can be too strict, too unyielding, too rigid, too demanding, too tight. In yoga terms, I think of this as balancing as not too tight and not too loose, right? So today we're looking at chesed within gvura. So we're going to work on poses that strengthen us, that fortify us, that help us build discipline and power, but we're going to do it by also inviting chesed, a little softening, a little compassion, a little care for our limitations wherever we have them, and a reduction in harshness with ourselves. So let's come to stand, and if you'd like to get a chair, you can. We're going to start with a forward fold. Alternatively, you could take your hands to your shins, something like that. But I'm starting with a pose that invites gvura for the legs and chesed for the inner being, for the nervous system. We'll take the legs as wide as the mat and then turn the toes in slightly. Lift up on the kneecaps to engage the quadriceps. Inhale, lift. Lengthen the abdomen, lift the sternum, and then exhale and fold over. And if you have a chair, you can grab opposite forearms, place the forehead down on the blanket, on a bolster, as I have something like that. You'll see what height you want to be. You could also fold forward onto a desk or table that has some room. Soften the brow. hips directly over the ankles. So we're not falling forward or falling back with the pelvis, just right in line. Continue to draw up on the kneecaps. Engage those quads and move the pubic bone back in space to again soften and hollow the abdomen. So notice where you need gvura, where you need to call up strength, and where you need chesed, where you can soften, perhaps melting the space between the shoulder blades, softening in the breath. You know where those places are for you. Chesed should be gvura. Couple more breaths here. And when you're ready, come on up. We'll take this one more time with a downward dog variation if you'd like. So you can take it just as we did it before. Actually, we're going to change the legs. So this time, grab your block and place the block up as high as possible between the thighs on probably the thin one so that your legs are parallel. And we're going to come forward once again. So either same way with the arms, or if you'd like to have a downward dog variation with straight arms and lengthening out, you can go ahead. Hands perhaps to the top of the chair, or perhaps onto the chair. I have a limitation in my right shoulder right now, so I'm just extending one arm. Right? So you just respect whatever you've got going on here. Either variation. Continue to breathe. See where you need to call up strength and see where you need to call up a little bit of softening. Good, and then as you're ready, come on up. Okay, keeping the block between the legs, we're going to take chair pose, or as it's known in the Sanskrit, fierce pose. If you would like some support, you can hold your hands out to the back of your chair. You can also take this way and just gently sit your bottom down on the chair for a little support that way if you'd like. So lots of options, always lots of options. Squeeze on the block, inhale the arms up to shoulder height, and exhale, sit it back. The spine is long, pubic bone and tailbone lengthening. You can have the arms up by the ears if you'd like as well. Instead, you decide. This way with the arms forward is kind of nice for widening the collarbones, opening the chest. Draw the navel toward the spine. Build a little heat here. If you want a little more even, lift your 10 toes up. Keep the gaze firm but also soft. Feel some warmth, feel some heat build, squeeze on the block. Again, engaging the core. And then press into the feet, squeeze on the block, and come on up. Notice how you feel in your breath. Notice how you feel in your body. I'm definitely ready to take my jacket off. Pose for mostly pure gvura, power and strength building. So just pausing, inviting some rest for a moment, and we'll take it again. Inhaling the arms up shoulder height, and exhale, sit it down. Lift the sternum high, widen the collarbones. Again, you can use your hands on something for balance. You could have your bottom leaning towards the chair for a little bit of support. Squeeze on that block, helps lift the pelvic floor and give some core support. Few more breaths. Woo! And then stand it on up. Nicely done. Okay. Taking the legs wide, turning the toes out to face opposite corners of the mat. A little more heat building for the thighs. Inhale, and then exhale, bend through the knees, lower down. Good. You can take the hands to the hips. You could take the hands in goalpost or the palms facing in. You decide. You could take the palms to the heart. Good. If you'd like to come in and out, you can do that, or you can just stay. Build a little heat here. And if you want a little more, alternately raise heels side to side. So staying where you are, just lifting the heel and dropping it down. Gvura, finding our strength, building our strength. And when you're ready, release. Resist any urge to shake it out. Just pause right here. Take a hand to the belly and a hand to the chest. And notice how you feel. Maybe there's increased heart rate. Maybe there's a little bit of burn in the thighs. What do you feel? What do you notice? And then heel toe or jump the feet together. One more pose in this orientation for the hips. We're going to take warrior two, just a couple breaths each side. So take the legs wide. We'll turn the left toes in and the right toes out. Back arch in line with the front heel. Hands can be on the hips or arms can be extended out at shoulder height, letting those bottom shoulder blades, bottom tips of the shoulder blades drop down the back. Inhale here and exhale, bend through that right knee. Warrior two, not coming past 90 degrees and not allowing the knee to come past the ankle. Talking about boundaries and limits that keep us safe. We want to really honor that for the joints. Gaze can be over the right fingertips. Couple of breaths here. And then come on up. Switch the feet. Decide where you want the arms to be. Inhale, and then exhale, bend through that left knee. Warrior two. Ultimate pose of Gvura. I think. Really embodying strength, stability, expanse. And then see within that if there's anywhere that you can soften. Maybe right in the center of the chest. Maybe within the hips. Where can you soften? And then as you're ready, release. Again, bring the feet back together and just take a moment to pause without any fidgeting in mountain pose. And see if you can balance the strength that's needed to stay upright through your body. We need to hold ourselves upright, but can we balance it with a softening? Next we're going to come into warrior three. This is where I really wanted to have the chair for anyone who's got it. And don't worry if you don't need it. Warrior three also sometimes known as airplane. We're going on the forward plane here. So you can do this. You can do this without the chair, just coming over, right? But if you have the chair, I'm going to start like this, basically building on bird dog. I'm coming over the back of my chair and I've got some support for my low belly here. The ankles, again, are right under my hips and I'm taking my hands to the chair. Draw the navel in and you can see that my spine is nice and straight. Again, head and neck in line with the rest of the spine. And my gaze is just going to be wherever that is that keeps my neck in line with everything else. Building on bird dog, we're taking the right leg back. The toes are pointing down. There's no opening. It's not half moon. The hip point is closed, meaning the right hip point is pointing down towards the floor. You could balance a teacup on your low back here. I'm not really having too much weight down into my hands. They're just here to help a little bit. And then if you like, again, taking that left arm long, palm facing in, just like we did when we were in quadruped. And then coming on down, place the right foot down next to the left. Pause here, lengthen through the sternum, and then send the left leg back. Toes pointing down, heel is at hip height. Again, the hip point is closed. The left hip point is pointing down towards the floor. And then if you'd like, extending the right arm long in front, palm facing in. Draw the navel towards the spine. The left thigh is rolling in slightly. Groins, inner groins moving up towards the ceiling. And then coming on down. One more time, switch, right leg, left arm, and lower, and switch again. Left leg, right arm, and lower. Great. Real pose for Gvura. So maybe you're starting to feel it in the legs, in the outer hips, in the buttocks. You can stay with this and repeat this again, or you can come to freestanding and see how it works when we add in balance to the equation. So, using the right leg as the standing leg, the hands can be down by the sides. You can hinge forward like so, or the arms can be out to the sides, airplane, or the arms can be extended overhead, palms facing each other. You decide. In terms of level of difficulty, by your sides is going to be the easiest, out to the sides is going to be next, and then extended overhead is going to be the highest level of difficulty. So standing on that right foot, spread the toes, really get nice surface area. Inhale and lift the sternum, lift everything up off the pelvis, and then exhale and fold forward. Good. So again, as much as possible, closing that left hip point down. Couple of breaths here. If you fall out of balance, it's okay. Just get on up, try it again. And then when you're ready, hinge back on up and pause. And then the other side. Standing stable on the left leg as your standing leg. Lift up on the kneecap, lift up on the thigh. Inhale, lengthen, and exhale, fold. Again, arms by the sides or arms out at shoulder height in a T or extended overhead. Couple of breaths. See if you can close that right hip down. And then inhale, release. Okay. So now we found the imprint of the pose. Maybe that was sort of a pure Gvura kind of approach to it and intention. Let's see if we can find the space where we can embody Chesed Shebigvura. That we're just going to take this with a lot of elegance, a lot of compassion, and see where we can soften, whether it's in the breath or somewhere in the body as we go into it. So take it one more time on your own, each side, a couple of breaths. Investigate this. Finding a sense of compassion, of chesed, of loving kindness as you move in to this power pose. Couple of breaths, take a pause, and try the other side. And when you're done, come on up. One more time, one hand to the low belly and one hand to the chest. Just feel the rhythm of your own breath. Notice how you feel. Whew. Okay, now we come to the more chesed part of our practice today. Let's get a little stretch now for what we've worked so hard in the lower body. Have a seat. You can sit on your blanket. Good. We'll start with a twist to the right. So bending the right knee, bring the shin in. See that the spine is nice and tall. Clasp the hands and sit up tall. Just be here and breathe a moment. And then we're going to take a twist. You can take the twist from here, or you can cross the foot over the leg as you twist, or you can bend the bottom knee, take it under you. So see which you like. Inhale and lift tall, and exhale, move into a twist to the right. Each inhale lifting up tall, each exhale twisting. Twisting out that, what I call matzah belly. You may feel a little tight through the belly after all that matzah heaviness through the past week. Each inhale, lifting tall, making space between the vertebrae. Each exhale, spinning the rib cage, perhaps taking the gaze over the right shoulder. When you're ready, come on back to center. Shake it out. And we'll switch sides. Bending at the left knee, taking the leg in. Take the opposite clasp of the hands to change up the pattern. Inhale, lift tall. And stay right here. Be here and breathe. And then see which shape you'd like for your twist. And once again, inhale tall and exhale, spin to the left. So you can deepen this with each breath cycle. Inhaling, lift tall. Exhale, spin. Few breaths. And then when you're ready, release. Shake out the legs a little bit. Good. And then we're going to come down to the floor. One last shape, and that'll be bridge pose. And you can decide how you want to do it. I'm kind of doing it middle of the road, extending my arms and holding on to opposite sides of the mat. Maybe you just want to lift your hips and place them on a low block or onto the blanket. Just do a low bridge. That's fine. A little more restorative, a little more chesed-filled bridge, or maybe you want a little more gvura-filled bridge, really working the thighs a little more. Well, extend those arms again and hold on to opposite sides of the mat. Inhale here. Exhale, press into the feet, lift the hips, lengthen the tailbone, right? And you might pause just low here, or you might lift the hips a little more, press into the feet, roll the shoulder blades under you. You decide. Maybe you want to clasp hands under the low back. So see how much, like if gvura is like a volume dial, see how much you want to dial it up on power here. Or do you just want to be a little more easeful, a little softer? Really finding some space of compassion for every part of your body. It's kind of a whole body pose. A couple of breaths more. And then as you're ready, widen the shoulders, and on an exhale, lower down vertebra by vertebra. Give the knees a hug. You can rock it a little bit side to side. And then let's come to stillness. If you have the chair, you might want to place your lower legs on the chair. Give a little ease to your low back. Or you may want something like constructive rest position, which I'm modeling right now. Or you may want a more traditional Shavasana position here, like this, with the legs long, arms out to the sides. You decide. Taking rest, taking quiet. A few minutes like this. Beginning to deepen the breath. Wiggle the fingers and the toes. And give the knees a hug. Take a nice yawn, sigh, stretch with the body. Then slowly make your way up to a seated position. Take all the time you need. And certainly you can stay longer in stillness if you have time and space and availability for that. But if you're returning and making a transition back to your day, sitting up tall, we close our practice by sending the benefits out for the well-being of all others. As we struggle to find the balance between chesed and gvura, between unbounded love, boundaries and limits, between strength and softening, we wish the same for others, to have wholeness and wellness. If there's anyone in your life who is needing refuat hanefesh or refuat haguf, a healing of body, of mind, can bring them to mind. Maybe say their name aloud in your own space. Might be your very own self, family members, community members, and sending it out for the benefit of the whole world, for all who are suffering. As we've been doing for all of these weeks since October 7th, praying for the safe return of the hostages in Gaza, 59 souls, 24 believed to be alive. We take the morning liturgy of Mondays and Thursdays, Achenu Kol Beit Israel. And I want to extend, as was suggested last week, to those in captivity in El Salvador. Without due process, may they be returned home speedily and safely. So we'll put it up on the screen. You can join me or just listen. Achenu kol Beit Israel, Achyoteinu kol Beit Israel, Hanetunim betzara, betzara uvashivya, Haomdim ben bayam, uven bayabasha. Hamakom yerachem, yerachem aleim, veyotziem mitzara, lirabacha, umafel leora, umishibud ligeula hashta bagala, uvizman kariv. Hashta ba'agala uvizman kariv v'numar. Amen. May all beings be free. Thank you all for practicing today. Shavua Tov. And wishing you a good week in this week of Gevura. We will be back next week, of course. And just a reminder to check out our offerings. Melila Hellner-Eshed's course beginning on April 21st. Josh Fagelson in conversation with Rabbi Shira Stutman, and Young Adults Retreat 20s and 30s in Mill Valley, California. It's running from August 5th to 10th. So check out those links.